Hi, I'm Joe Rourke. I'm here today to give a preview of the financial performance dashboards that are currently under development. Let's switch over to prototype that we have. And the financial workbook is much like our other workbooks in that all the information is contained in one workbook. The information here is focused in on revenue and costs and the associated operating expenses associated with labor. I'll start out with the data set. If I click on the financials 2013, the current fiscal year, I'll actually see an analysis being done, which is much of a P&L. I have revenue and cost by contract type, cost of goods sold. I have a total gross margin percentage. I have operating expenses that are calculated based on the labor along with the burden rate that was associated to that labor. And then I have a series of revenue analysis and margin analysis calculations that we're doing. And a lot of these are being used in order for us to do our trending analysis. A little about the operating expenses. We calculate out for each person the current burden rate along with the total number of regular hours in order to calculate out the indirect hours that should be used for operating expenses. You can kind of see my total operating expenses being calculated out. A lot of the calculations that are being done on the 2013-2012 fiscal year P&Ls are being used for trending analysis. So I want to go over and show you a little about what's being shown in terms of the revenue, cost of goods sold, gross margin, operating expenses, and EBITDA calculations being shown on the trending year-to-date screen. And what you'll see is that there's a section on revenue, there'll be a section on cost of goods, and on margin, along with operating expenses. And what you'll see is in this case, revenue versus plan. So I see my revenue on a monthly basis versus plan. I see a cumulative year-to-date comparison in terms of revenue versus plan to see how I'm doing year-to-date. I see a breakdown in terms of by my contract types, so I can see a percentage of revenue that's from recurring service contracts. I can see a trending per month to see what's been trending up. Nice trending curve here in terms of recurring service. That's what everyone would like to see. I see my average revenue per client gathering steam that's going up, and my percentage of my recurring revenue as a percentage of my overall total, starting out around 70%, getting up towards about 86%. So nice revenue curve. I see a distribution of revenue by the number of clients based on the distribution of the total dollars that are coming in from individual clients. So I can see that I currently have 15 clients that are providing me over $10,000 in terms of revenue. But when I see total amount of revenue, I'll see that actually represents about $250,000 worth of revenue that's coming in. So a larger percentage of my revenue is coming in from larger dollar items. I see year-to-date by account by revenue, so who's providing me the most amount of revenue year-to-date. And then cost of good breakdown, cost of goods sold versus plan, along with cumulative breakdowns by contract types, and again by see the trending distribution over time. Really, probably most important is margin. So how much money am I taking in from my clients? If I get $100 worth of revenue, what percentage of that am I keeping? So this is showing me, again, before operating expenses, what I'm seeing in terms of my, what I'm seeing on a per month basis, a cumulative basis. I'm seeing that I'm getting 95% of my margin is coming in from recurring service. Interestingly, 95% is coming in from recurring service, whereas only 84% of my revenue. So much higher percentage coming in terms of margin coming in terms of the recurring service, and I can kind of see this trend, giving me that trend. I also see the total amount of margin coming in per client going up, and I see my year-to-date top accounts by gross margin, and more importantly, probably my bottom accounts by by gross margin, I can see these are clients that I'm losing money on. I can also see percent by percent gross margin. Percent gross margin typically being that if I get in $100 and I have margin of $10, that's really 10% margin that I've had. So giving me that percentage. I also want to see year-over-year comparisons. Year-over-year comparisons would show me the current year versus in red, I would actually see the previous year. So I can see how I'm doing. First 3 months look very similar to last year, but then I've just grown out my revenue in the months following that. Revenue versus the previous year in terms of quarter comparisons. This should be Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Average per client. Average revenue as a percent of the overall total. Interestingly, this is showing me my revenue by contract type in the previous year versus the current fiscal year. 65% last year came in from recurring service. 84% is coming in now. Nice distribution. Gross margin, giving me comparisons of gross margin for this year versus previous year. Again, showing me 70% of my gross margin last year came in from recurring service. This year it is 95%. Explore screen allows me to drill in and look at specific areas. This will show me, again, the previous fiscal year and the current fiscal year. I see a tally up here of revenue, cost of goods sold, and gross margin. I can choose specific fiscal years that I want to see. So I may just want to see the 3 quarters of this year. I will see monthly information. I will see a sum by quarter, and I'll see the total amount of value being shown here. Also, what you get is you get a distribution by revenue, by contract type, contract category, billing type, and then the revenue, top revenue clients by revenue, and by the bottom clients. What this will show me is, and this is not in thousands, but who I lost money on from the standpoint of margin. Now I could do is I could drill into those specific clients and see how those clients were doing. In fact, I could actually say, show me recurring service contracts. Well, I only lost money on one account for recurring service, but time and material lost a lot more. Fixed price contracts lost them. So you get a feel for how you can drill into specific contract types, specific time periods, billing item types, or drill into the specific account or contract. And for whatever information I choose up here, in terms of like a fixed price contract, I would see the individual contracts and accounts down below on a per month basis. We also have Explore Screen, which is Explore Screen by margin. And the Explore Screen by margin compares the margin, the revenue, versus what margin that I happen to make on it. So really what you want to do is you want to make a lot of money and make 100% margin. But that's not going to be the case. You're going to actually have some where you actually lose money on. Like this right here was a specific item where it was $321 and we lost 142%, probably a time and material or fixed price contract. So you want to get this distribution where you can specifically go into a specific quarter or a specific year, or maybe you want to choose out a specific month and look at what the distribution happened to be for the accounts that you're dealing with in that specific month, drilling into for an account a specific, and each one of these represent an individual account, and those individual accounts are listed here, and they're listed descending by the sum of the percent margin. So I can choose to say that I'm interested in the fixed price contracts, and now here are the fixed priced accounts. You can see some of them, I basically had purely cost and there was no margin because it may be that in that specific month the revenue was represented up front before the costs. But I actually see the distribution showing here, and I can take a look at this information and see how it was doing overall or not in terms of the overall percentages. And I can also drill into a specific count if I wanted to drill into a specific count and see how that was doing over time. Those represent the current analysis, the current P&L that's currently available. There are two specific items that are being added. One is a resource utilization page that will show you both the billable and non-billable activities, allowing you to drill in over time in individual resources. And we're going to be adding a section to this, which is basically the metrics that matter. So you'll have a metrics that matter page that will show you the current month and the previous 2 months, showing you that information and whether or not you met, for the selected criteria, you met your specific targets. So you have your targets listed there. So that's what we'll be putting into a metrics that matter screen as well. And that is a summary of what's currently under development. Our target really is to go into a beta sometime this month or towards the end of the month, so that we can get some feedback directly from customers. We have a series of some information that we're going to have to walk through. That we have revenue, we have costs, we have EBITDA and operating expenses, and we really want to get this in the hands with some actual data, as opposed to the demonstration data that we have here. So thank you very much. Bye.